Welcome, guys, to Inside Leverage Show here at Five Reasons Sports. I'm here with Alf and the fellas. Alf, what's going on? Chad, French, how you guys doing? Welcome.
I'm doing good. Doing
Doing
good.
good.
I got a few days off. There's a game on Friday. And like I was telling that this is my third show I do in one day, by the way, today. Actually, my
Wow.
fourth show. My fifth show. Because I did let me see, I did my camp report. I did the vetted camp report, so that's two. I did sideline T, that's three. I did Hussam Patel's show, that's four, and this is the fifth show I do in one day.
Active. Wally, what's good
Yes.
with you, man? Welcome as well. Welcome,
What's the word?
everybody.
What's the word, man? What's the word? Appreciate you off, man. Hey, listen. Hey, we should make this a regular thing.
For sure. As we end day 2 of joint practices with the Atlanta Falcons, some really interesting things. Of course, a lot of concerns, a lot of good things out there. So, wanted to kind of let's just jump into it and get started. My first question for you is in regard to the guards. I did notice today at practice that uh Harlow at left guard and Driscoll also at right guard. I don't know if you saw any of that. It was a little bit reps. Kind of wanted to see what your thoughts on how they looked.
Sean Harlow is a pro, but I don't think we're getting, I don't think that that's a guy that we're thinking about. He's going to, he's just going to blow up on the scene and he's going to be a starter. But they're paying him like a roster player. You know what I mean? So I got to say, what I saw today was just more of the same. I got to see some games to see how these guys actually shake out going forward, But as of, so far so good on the back end of the guards, but the frontline guys are the ones that are a problem so far.
Go ahead, Fritz, if you got any questions for
Hey,
Al.
hey, Alf, what's going on, bud? Thank you so much for your time. Hey, quick question for you. Um, in reference to Tyndall and talking specifically about what the linebackers are doing, and when you talk about Duke Riley, can you tell me as far as Duke Riley and what he's doing right that he earned the orange jersey?
Well, he's playing in two spots really, so he's having a lot of responsibility. And if you knew what was going on earlier in camp, earlier this week, Anthony Walker was not working with the team. Jordan Brooks wasn't either. Jordan Brooks returned today, so that's a good sign. Duke Riley was asked to do some of the green dot stuff, some of the green dot duty, and he performed well. And that practice where he got the orange jersey, I thought, they were so good in the short zone that I gave my practice player of the day to David Long, but they ended up giving it to Duke Riley. They were really good in tandem on that day. So I really think, although they've been asked, and I've heard some people say that this system is going to ask a lot of the linebackers on this team. I don't think so. I think this is a very friendly system to the linebackers, and it's
Okay.
asking them to play very, very free. So yeah, Duke Riley's been good, and I'm going to change my mind on it. I thought that they were going to keep a specialist on the back end as far as the linebackers, like a Cam Brown. I think Duke Riley's as safe as you can get for this team.
Hey,
He's
Alf.
he's he's LB4 for sure. That
Okay.
there's no doubt about that.
So do you have Tyndall making it out right
Yeah,
now?
yeah. He's stacking days. He's gonna have to play well in these games, though. I think that's gonna be important. If he doesn't play well in these games coming up here, then he could be in a little bit of trouble. But he's played well, and he's being asked to play some special teams, which is a good sign for him. So, if I were Danny Crossman, I would not count my chickens before they hatch. You know what I mean? So, if I were Danny Crossman, you might be losing a special team specialist or two.
Go ahead, Wally, if you have any questions.
That's a good thing. That means we got progress on. A quick question: what is the biggest change you've seen this year in contrast in training camp to other training camps?
Well, they're bending more to to more conventional training camps. Like the previous 2 training camps under Mike McDaniel, a lot of 11 on 11, which is something I liked. You know, they didn't do almost no one-on-ones, no 7-on-7 drills. Now, they've kind of cut out some of the 7-on-7 stuff because I guess the only reason they were doing the 7-on-7 stuff is because there was a certain quarterback holding in, right? So maybe they were instituting that. But also the installs are different. Last year they used to do team installs, which means you basically got to teach every part of the offense what they're doing at the same time. Now they're separating them and putting together the install at one moment at the end of practice or right before they do their 11 on 11 or their simulated portion of practice. So it's a little bit more efficient and it works a little bit better, I think. I also like the communication on defense. They're having like their own little meetings during the stretch line, and they're taking that time to also communicate with each other, with the coaches, especially the secondary. The secondary is really on their thing, on their. I'll almost say, can I say shit on on the show? They're on this shit in this training camp. While last year you could see them like kind of argue as far as what are we doing? What are we doing based on the rules of this coverage? You know, what are the rules dictate that we do while we're on this hash or that hash in this coverage? This year, you see that they shook that out in the first 3 days of camp, and it really hasn't been an issue at all. Past the first 2 days of camp, I haven't seen a single miscommunication with the safeties and the cornerbacks.
So we should expect a lot less of those communication breakdowns on those crossers and things like that this season.
Absolutely, and I think it has to do also with the system. I think the system, I guess, the verbiage is a little bit better, and it's also year 2 for these guys, for a lot of these guys together. So it's going to be easier for them to communicate.
Yeah, I was surprised Cater and some of those guys had struggles with passing guys off, and he got like guys just got lost in transition. I don't know what was going on there on the back end because Deshaun Elliott and Holland, their communication was being lauded pretty much the entire offseason. So I was expecting that to be pretty good. I think it was. I'm not sure what was happening though with some of those breakdowns.
Well, I think last year you could chalk it up to this. Ramsey missed half the year, then showed up at the middle of the year, right? Xavier Howard missed a couple of games in the middle of the year. Javon Holland started missing games past the Black Friday game. So they're always in and out of the lineup constantly last year. So you never really had a consistent group to get all your calls down and, you know, build that chemistry. This year they're all together in camp. They weren't all together in camp last year because you remember Ramsey got hurt. I think it was the second practice of camp. So, you know, I think that having that familiarity, having everybody together, I think is paid dividends for them.
So we talked about the linebackers. We talked about the secondary. How's the big boys up front looking? We know when Wilkins departed, that was a big thing, a big deal that's been made. How's that? Have you filled the Wilkins void so far, in your opinion?
I like what they've done. They went out and they signed 5,000 defensive tackles, and we're like, okay, are they going to really replace Wilkins with like 5 guys? Well, the answer is yes. Wilkins is a guy that's going to play nearly 1,000 snaps every season. They're not going to do that with this team. Okay, they're going to rotate a lot of these guys. I doubt that there's going to be more than one guy play more than 600 snaps, and that the guy that does play over 600 snaps is probably going to be Zach Sealer, and that's it. Everybody else are going to be specialists. They're going to rotate them in and out. I really like what they have. Tier Tart's a good player. He's played well in this camp. He's had a really good camp. I even think Leonard Payne is coming on. Now, these games are going to matter because they're going to play a lot. Leonard Payne is strong. So that's a guy that I would watch as a sleeper. As of right now, Neville Gallimore is going to make the team because of his contract. He was basically guaranteed his entire salary. So he was handed a briefcase with like $1.2 million in it. I don't think they're going to cut him. And then what are they going to tell Stephen Ross? I know we gave him $1.2 million of your money, and now he's gone, without doing anything for the team. So he's going to make the team. Benito Jones is the 0. He's the nose guard, and Calais Campbell's going to play a lot inside. So I think they have a nice mix of players. and they're going to find a lot for them to do. I think they did a nice job, and I think they
I'm
hit
hearing
on a few of these guys.
a lot of Isaiah Mack.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he might be the developmental guy. I don't think he's a roster guy. I think he's a developmental guy for the practice squad. I don't think you're running a real danger, you know. The guy will keep my eye on is Leonard Payne. I'm telling you, he's strong. Like, he's legendary strong. He's one of those guys that they talk about on the practice field and in the locker room. So I will keep an eye on him. He's a guy that could come on.
Okay.
I like the group. It's a good group.
Sorry about that. Alf Arteaga from 3 Yards Per Carry is with us. Fans, we want to give. I want to get the fans a little involved. So post your questions, and we'll ask Alf towards the end of the show. So whenever guys get your questions ready, then once it gets towards the end, we'll ask them. I see a couple of questions now, so we'll be able to ask those questions towards the end. So my second question to you, Alf, is about Ethan Bonner. Seems like he's coming along really well. Cam Smith, on the other hand, the injuries is kind of affecting him to be on the field and kind of showcase his skills. Do you see him as a cornerback 3 for this roster where he helps out and allow Ramsey to be flexible and other players to be flexible for the defense?
Absolutely. And there's certain things that you can't teach, right? Like you watch Waddle run a 9 route and he's on his hip and he's making a play on the ball. That's not something that happens all the time. You see a go route to Tyreek and the ball is right on target. And all of us in the media section, we're looking at the play and we think Ethan Bonner gets the interception. So that means he's making a play at the apex, elevating to make a play on a ball thrown to Tyreek that's perfectly thrown by Tua. Now, Tyreek ends up getting it, and we saw the replay. It went off of Bonner's hands, and Tyreek caught it like on his hip. He's making plays, and now he's showing some chops as far as punching the ball out, being physical on the tackle and at the catch point. So these are things that, you don't see normally out of guys, in camp. This is stuff that starters do. Guys that play a lot of snaps in the NFL do. So I think they found a good one. And, you're happy to see it because unfortunately, and, you hate to be this guy, but out of sight, out of mind, if you're injured, you're not playing. If you're not playing, the coaches do not care. Okay. And Cam Smith comes back. He's in uniform yesterday, plays some snaps, plays on special teams today, full participant. And there you go. He's a full participant, and all of a sudden now he's grabbing himself like if it's a groin issue. You don't want to see that. And now it's becoming something that it keeps happening to him over and over and over again while the other guy's excelling. So, you can only say arrow up for Ethan Bonner and arrow down for Cam Smith. If you're not playing, you can't play. And if you can't play, you're, like I said, out of sight, out of mind. They tend to forget about you.
Yeah, man, you got to be in there. You got to be in there to earn the coach's attention, man.
Yeah.
Hey, so let me ask you this, Alf, just to hop back to the trenches really quick. They call me the French the trench because I stay in the trenches. But when you talk about the offensive line and specifically that center position, what do you think is the true fix for that position? Do you think the solution is on this team right now, or do you think there's other ways, or do you think with kind of what we got right now, we can still see true strides as we get into the season?
You're thinking about what, backup center behind Brewer?
Just in general, what do you think about the position?
Well, I think Aaron Brewer is going to be a nice player for us. Now
Okay.
He has to play, right? Like, I don't think this is going to be a serious issue. Okay, because even I was explaining on a previous show, even if he has torn ligaments on a finger, you could buddy it up and you could snap with your finger buddied up. Even if you have 3 broken fingers, you could buddy up 2 fingers, and then you tape up your thumb to your wrist, and you could snap like that, Vulcan style, right? So that's not a problem. Remember, most of these guys tape up their fingers and they wear a glove anyway. So I don't think it's going to be a real issue. I like Aaron Brewer. He's shown a lot so far in camp as far as being an outside zone type of center. Now, the issues on this team is the depth at guard. I think that that's the problem. Because even though we're pretty happy, and you got to be pretty happy with what Robert Jones has shown, because I'm prepared to tell you that Robert Jones is probably going to be playing somewhere else next year for like 5 years, $50 million. Okay. Like, I think he's going to be a pretty good center in this system. But what do they really have behind him? What do they really have opposite him? I think they're short a center, and I mean, they're short a guard, and they got to sort out who's the backup center. Because today, Aaron Brewer goes into the medical facility to get his hand checked out. And what happens next? Liam Eichenberg is moving over to play center. I don't think that that's something you want to do. You want Liam Eichenberg to concentrate on right guard if you want to make it work there, and you want to get yourself a dedicated center. Andrew Meyer, these games are going to be important. I thought he started off well in camp. Then he had a little rough patch with his snaps, but I think he looks the part. I think he's a center. Now, we got to see him actually produce in these games coming up. I'm pretty certain he's going to play a lot in this game against the Falcons. So that's something you want to see.
Oh, all right. We were talking about Ethan Bonner earlier. What would you say is your biggest surprise this camp so far, player-wise?
I think my biggest surprise is probably Quinton Bell, that he's as advertised. But my other biggest surprise, you just mentioned him, Ethan Bonner is a great surprise. But my biggest surprise is that Robert Jones is really showing up in this camp. And he's making the blow of losing Robert Hunt a little softer. I think they're going to be able to run behind him. I think they're going to be able to call some leads behind him. I think they're going to be able to run power with him. He's had a good camp. And the problems on the offensive line have not really been at the guard positions. Okay? It's really Keon Smith. And it's really been at left tackle. I think Kendall Lamb has not had a good camp. But you tend to trust Kendall Lamb, right? So I trust Kendall Lamb. I don't trust Keon Smith. And I trust Teron Armstead. But Teron Armstead also has to play. So you got to count on him once more this season. But so far in camp, the issues have come at tackle. And it's mostly two guys, Keon Smith and Kendall Lamb.
Hey, Al, really quick. Let me ask you just to switch it to the special teams real quick. Is there a player that you feel on special teams can make the biggest impact?
On special teams, I think Saran Neal is going to be a good player for them. He might even be special teams captain. So, and he's an active player. He's even playing some on defense and shown some chops there as well. So I think that that's a guy to watch. As far as the other core special teamers, I'm not sure if Cam Brown is going to make it because he's kind of in a logjam right now at linebacker. But I like him. But I don't know if he'll make it. I think Saran Neal is the guy to watch, and he's going to be a keeper for special teams. He's as advertised.
Okay. I like that one.
We've been hearing a lot about Jeff Wilson. I've heard he's been having a really good camp. Is he RB3 and, going forward? And do you think he's going to be, a part of the actual offense this season? Because he was on the sideline at times last year. So,
yeah, they first of all, we know that they trust him, right? We know that they guaranteed part of his contract this year. So I'm pretty certain he's making the team. Jalen Wright's had a hell of a camp, and we know he's going to play a lot in these preseason games. So I think they got their top four. I think their top four is as clear as you can get. And I think Savon Ahmed is in a little bit of danger, and Chris Brooks is probably the developmental guy that they try to sneak back onto the practice squad, right? But we know the top four. Jeff Wilson, they're going to trust. They got him doing a lot of the same things that all the other guys do. So they're trying to make them all interchangeable. And that's a good thing that they're trusting all of them. And I think that they're kind of doing the job. I thought Jeff Wilson ran a really, really nice it was like an 8 route today. They threw him the ball, and it was a good play by the safety who came over. That was Mike White delivering the ball. I thought Mike White was actually pretty good today too. So they're asking them all to do the same things. They're asking them to be the same things in the passing game as well. So that's a good sign for Jeff Wilson. I think he made the team. RB3, they're probably going to trust him since he's a vet over Jalen Wright. But I wouldn't sleep on Jalen Wright. Jalen Wright's been very, very good in this camp. And he's going to be good in these preseason games because he's going to play.
Yeah, certainly. I think he'll slowly creep up to that third, fourth spot, depending performance or injury. But I do see him having some type of contributing factor for sure. Going back to the cornerback position, because that's something that I've been kind of thinking about specifically with Cam Smith. Um, I don't know the severity. We don't know the severity of the injury, but do you think that they will go acquire another cornerback if they deemed him that it might take longer for him to get ready to go back on the field?
Here's the good news, because while I've been pounding the table saying that the back end of the wide receiver room is really bad, it's not good. Okay, like none of those guys have emerged. You know, you got your top guys, and then you got Malik Washington, who's flashed and who's coming on strong, right? But all those other guys that you got at the back end of the wide receiver group have not been good. Jaquan Burton dropping way too many passes, and that's something that he didn't do at FAU that much. Anthony Schwartz has not been good. I don't think Braxton Berrios has been all that great either. Okay, so the back end of the receiver group has not been good. They went out and they remedied it by signing Snead. Snead is a pro. I think he's already good as Braxton Berrios. Here's the good news. While you have the bad news at receiver, I think you have good news at cornerback because Storm Duck has had a great camp. And you have other guys who have emerged as well, as Jason Maitre has made plays. And I'm not saying that he's made plays against like Braylon Sanders, okay? He's made plays against Tyreek Hill. He's made plays against Jalen Waddle, made plays against River Craycraft. So, yeah, Jason Maitre is a guy to watch in these games, as well as Isaiah Johnson. Like, the length is there. He's really good in the red zone, by the way, Isaiah Johnson. You know, he's 6'3", 205 pounds, long, lean, very grabby and handsy, which is a good thing, because if you don't get called, you're not moving guys. Guys are not moving off the line. They're not getting free releases on you. They're not completing passes on you. Storm Duck has been really, really good as well. So while, yeah, they're scrambling at other positions to fill in the back end of the roster, especially for these games in training camp, I think they're pretty comfortable at cornerback, even while missing one guy in Cam Smith.
So Alf, do you see us acquiring somebody on the interior as well? Like possibly, like
Yeah, I think that they had.
thing?
Yeah, they have their ear to the ground as far as getting a guard. I know people have speculated as far as James Daniels. That's a guy. That's one of the first calls I'd make. He's a stud. He'll play at right guard. Now, it'd probably be a rental because I don't know if they'll pay him at season's end because this system tends to make stars out of guards, and James Daniels has a lot of talent, so he could absolutely shine in this system. And then at the end of the year, somebody's going to sign him for $15 million a year, and it won't be us, right? So it'll probably be a rental. But the Steelers have bigger fish to fry. They're trying to acquire Brandon Ayuk. So you got to wait for them to finish off that trade, and then I'd make a phone call for James Daniels. And the other guy I make a phone call is, look, Aaron Banks with San Francisco. They're not going to pay him at season's end. Maybe they want to monetize him. They have his replacement on the roster in Dominic Pooney. So, you know, maybe that's a guy that they'll decide to move on from because he's kind of expensive. And he's a perfect fit for Miami because that's a guy you could slot in at left guard. You play Robert Jones at right guard, and now you got some toughness, and you got two guys that you could run leads behind, you could run power behind, and that's something I would do. And if all else fails, just make a phone call to Mark Lewinsky and just sign him, and then get another body for right guard, and that way you could tackle the problem with a lot of bodies, a lot of guys.
We're talking about let's get a little bit nasty with this. We've had high hopes for a few players, man. Who's unimpressed you the most, man? Who's been the player that you had some high hopes for and he hasn't like flashed at all?
A guy that I have high hopes for and he hasn't been like great is what you're thinking.
Yes,
Jody Forston, like he looks the part, man. He looks like $1 million.
Even the shoes, have you seen his cleats? He's out here looking big.
He's dripped out, man. He's wearing wristbands on his knees, wristbands on his elbows. He has the orange gloves, the orange cleats. He has the black tape. But man, he'll make a play, then he'll make another play, then he'll drop another one, and you're like, man, stop dropping passes. I want you on this team, man. You know what I mean? So he's a guy that I've expected a lot from, and he hasn't delivered so far. A guy who has delivered is in the same room as Julian Hill. Dude's gonna be a stud. He's gonna be a nice player
Tied in
for the
one.
Dolphins.
Tied in one.
Yeah. He's gonna be a nice player for them for a very long time. I think next year you could see a situation where they'll save some money by cutting Durham Smythe next year, and Julian Hill will be in his spot.
Right.
Tied in one.
I see as well.
Tied in one.
And he's a great guy, by the way. I've spoken to him a couple of times. Yeah, you root for guys like that. Like, he gives a crap. You know what I mean? He cares. He wants to be good. You know?
Absolutely. Hey, really quick, man, just want to take this time to thank everybody for tuning in. We are giving away 3 pairs of preseason tickets to Friday's preseason game. Correct? It's Friday, right?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
So Friday's preseason game. So if you guys are interested, man, just go to the Inside Leverage page, retweet that post to enter, and we're going to go ahead and pick that probably within the next hour or so you guys could, make preparations. So just wanted to let everyone know that's something we wanted to go ahead and do, and just a little something to give back. So during the season, we'll give away more tickets as well. You guys know what we do. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in and supporting us, man. And just wanted to take the time to do that before we get into the fan questions, before we get out of here.
Yes, sir. So there's one question here from Jason Stamps. How many edges and D tackles each makes it, in your opinion?
5 and 5. They'll have 5 edges because one of them has to play special teams. 4 for the rotation, and then 5 for the roster on the defensive tackle, so the interior. And then they'll put 1 on the practice squad, so they'll keep 6. Sometimes they keep 7. Last year they had 7, because they had 3 developmental guys. So 5 plus 1, I think, is the minimum, and then 4 edge players on game day, 5 edge players total. Is what
Are you counting Phillips and Chubb in that edge count?
Well, 1 is going to be on PUP, okay?
Right.
And I think Phillips starts the season. I think he starts week 1, okay? I think Jalen Phillips will be fine for week 1. I think Bradley Chubb will be back like week 6 or 7, because he's going to be on the PUP. So right. I think they have the bye. When is the bye? 6? Week 6, right?
Week 6.
Yeah, so he'll come back for week 7, and then when he comes back for week 7, then they'll have to cut somebody. You know what I mean? So for the roster, 4 on the edge, 5 in the interior for the roster. So 9 total. Total for the practice squad, 1 and 1 for each side. So it'll be 5 and 6.
Oh, this is a good question here. You guys are saying that defense are playing physical and with a lot of edge. Now, do you think this year McDaniel will bring any an edge and physicality this year in his play calling? In your opinion, what do you think?
Absolutely, and there's some evidence for it too. Today there was a 5-to-1 run to pass ratio. Okay, and they never got to the simulated portion of practice, so they were just running their plays. They were trying to get their installs down, and it was pretty much all runs. 5-to-1, like I said. They've installed pretty much a very, very diverse running game, unlike what they had last year. Last year, I think they ran like 4 or 5 plays all season. That was their run game consisted of about 4 or 5 plays. This year, it's much more diverse. They're running a lot of different concepts and with a lot of different guys. So you can see that they're expanding it, and they're having some counters. Because you know what teams are going to think, right? Teams know that you're going to run outside zone. They're going to sell out on it. You got to have a counter for it, and they do have a counter. I can't tell you what it is. You have to go see it. You got to watch the game so you can see their counters for the teams that are going to sell out on stopping outside zone. But they have a counter for that too. So they've diversified and expanded the run game.
For sure. Let's get one more question in before we let Alf go for the evening. Again, thank you so much for coming through and hanging out with us. Now, this question here from Jason again. Do you like Jones at both left or right guard or left guard more? I'm sorry.
There's one obvious answer. They're playing him at left guard right now, so we got to like him, right? At left guard, because Liam Eichenberg says his best position is right guard. But the obvious answer is that Robert Jones' best tape in the pros has been at right guard. Okay? His best tape in college was at right guard. He's even played some right tackle, but his best position is right guard. I think you want him at right guard. So if you acquire James Daniels' best position is right guard. So then you're going to keep Robert Jones at left guard. But I think the best case scenario is that you make a move for Aaron Banks. And if you get Aaron Banks, you play him at his natural position, which is left guard, and you play Robert Jones at right guard. And then you really have something. You'll go from having some questions to saying we're stacked on the offensive line. I really do believe that. But his best position is right guard. And it's clear as day.
What's the deal with Wynn? Is he hanging?
I wish I knew, man. Like, look, I can give you a spy report on Odell Beckham. He looks fast.
Yes, I seen him run. I saw him fast as hell. But Wynn, I haven't seen him anywhere. Nowhere to be found.
I haven't seen him either. That's the thing. I don't know if he's in the building. We asked Butch, and Butch said, "Yeah, he's in the building. He's working." Nobody's seen him. I haven't seen him.
Not once.
No, nobody's seen him. So we don't know where he is. So I will be concerned with Isaiah Wynn. We know his injury is the quad injury. How long is this thing going to go? You know what I mean? So I don't know. I'm concerned about Isaiah Wynn. If he comes back, he's not going to be healthy because he's never healthy. But if he comes back, that gives you an extra body. That gives you a little bit more confidence, up front. But I still think, man, go get a guard. You need a guard. Go get one.
I mean, they can't carry over all that space. Well, then you think, man,
we're under the cap. We're 40 under the cap next season.
So 35, I think, right now, or 44 over next year. 35 under now, right? I believe.
Yeah,
I mean,
and they still have nuclear options. As far as restructuring deals. Remember, Tua's deal can be restructured again. You can add a season next year and open up like $30 million in cap space.
Jesus.
So
plus that big decision on Chubb. Chubb's I don't know what they'll do with that, but
yeah, and you have Teron Armstead expiring as well.
Yeah.
Oh man, next season is gonna be crazy.
I'm gonna tell you right now, if JPP gets if JP gets his life right, and Quinton Bell's as what we seen right now, Bradley Cho gonna be gone, bro. I'm gonna tell you right now. Out the door. Why would you even waste your time when you have Quinton Bell?
You got Chop and Mo Kamara as well.
Yeah. Bro, I'm not even talking about the rookies because that's we're hoping that's gonna happen. Quinton Bell just the cream. Like, come on now. He's balling.
That was on nobody's Eagles card, I think.
Nobody had that.
Yeah, and this happened before. This happened before. What's happening with Quinton Bell has happened before. Guys that mature later in life, and then they're given one job and they're really good at it. There's a guy that's probably going to go in the Ring of Honor that did that. Cam Wake. Okay, he spent like how many years in the Canadian Football League?
And then he came back over here and it was.
Yeah, and it was a wrap. They tried him in one specific role, get to the quarterback. He excelled at it, and he had himself maybe even a Hall of Fame career.
I would dare say so. That run was insane, man. That stretch what he was doing, walk off safety. Nah, that's crazy. You talking crazy right now, bro. Don't get me excited, man. I love Cameron. He had no holes in his game.
He retired. I wonder what's his plan on that.
Yeah, I wonder who Chopper's going to play against, and hopefully he's going to play a lot because he's going to be playing against backup tackles. He's going to make those guys look like fools.
But
on Friday, man.
Bro, were you there today?
Yeah.
Did you see them like the way they were holding him? Mm-hmm. That kid is insane.
Yeah, and he recovered. I like the when Kirk Cousins fumbled that snap.
Yes, he picked
it
up.
To get it, and Chop was already on it.
Yeah, and he tried to pick it up, but he won a floor. He got a little too happy. I seen that play. Yeah, man.
Yeah, so some people say, he's raw. He has to get better at setting the edge. He has to know the scheme. He has to know the rules as far as stopping the run. He has a skill that you can't teach that is applicable for every level of football, from pee-wees to high school to college to the pros. He can run right past your tackle, and your tackle can't touch him. Okay? And if he's running past tackles, he's getting to the quarterback. And if he's getting to the quarterback, the defense is going to be good. And if the defense is going to be good, the team's going to be good.
That's cool.
So
yeah,
I'm excited. I'm excited to see Chop play.
We're
Don't do
talking
it.
the first step.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Jalen Waddle's first step.
Don't do it.
Go ahead and tell me, Kev.
Strains in Michael Parsons' body is what we were told about.
That's embarrassing. Y'all embarrassed. Okay.
Hey, listen, you can feel however you want to feel, Wally. Hey, but really quick, let me just finish it with this one, Alf. Now that we're talking about Chop, imagine how deadly he can be from rushing up the A and the B gap with these quarterbacks if you put him in one of these packages, because quickest way to the quarterback is, and typically them guards aren't as athletic as those tackles, so you put him in with against a guy like a Eichenberg on another team with a guy with just shorter arms, and it's hard to grab onto that guy.
Yeah, and Chop has the skill, man, that it's another thing you can't teach. And that's why, because people ask me, oh, what kind of rusher is Quinton Bell? What's the comparison? And some people have compared him to Leonard Floyd. I think he's more Melvin Ingram, because Quinton Bell rushes more violently, more maniacally. Chop is a completely different player. He has this knack of making himself so small that he basically gets under the tackle's hands. So he's like, he gets himself so small and so bendy and so short that he could turn that corner and get to the quarterback so quickly that it makes him damn near impossible to block.
Hold on.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, they're gonna kill me with this one. So
don't do Jalen Waddle. Please don't say Jalen Waddle first step, please.
So
don't say dumb stuff like
that. All right, whatever, Wally. You can feel however you want to feel. But if we're talking about the first step of Jalen Waddle,
oh my God,
the physique of Aaron Donald, and you're telling me the swim move of Micah Parsons.
He didn't say swim move.
And the bend of Cam Wake. Oh, we are cooking.
What are we talking about? Super Soldier at this point?
We talking about Avengers Part 75 according to
yeah, let me. You know who Chop Robinson is? He's Ant-Man. He's Ant-Man. Because he goes from 6'3", 250 to like 5'2", 95 pounds off the line. You can't get him because he gets so low. He gets so low. His bend is and his back twists so much that tackles are hitting air when they're getting to him. So he's off the line and he's already past you. He's over here. You know what I mean? You almost have to tackle him.
That's what I saw they did. I think I was gonna say that he's gonna draw a lot of holding calls or just straight out like they're gonna take him on. It's gonna be a penalty against them because they're gonna lose their patience. They're not. The LTs are gonna get just mad because the kid is frustrating, man. Atlanta was upset the entire time. That's the reason why they were fighting. Chop was impressive.
Yes, sir. And on that note, Alf, again, thank you so much for joining us. Please join the Patreon. I'm telling you, you guys won't regret it. Tons of great information by the 3 yards per carry guys.
It's the Discord. You got it. Yes. It's the Discord. Yeah, you go to discord.gg/OnlyFins and you become a member there for $3 a month.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Get a ton of great information from those guys. And a little bit of, insider, just a little bit. I'm not going to tease it too much, but, man, great information from those guys. Really, really, really thankful that I get to be in that and experience all that with those guys. With the videos and everything, man. So appreciate you. Any final words from you, Alf, and everyone before we head out of here?
No, just wanted to say it's going to be a really good preseason game. It's been a while since we've had a first preseason game that you really, really excited to watch. I'm excited to watch it because we get to see Jalen Wright. We get to see Patrick Paul, Malik Washington, Chop Robinson, Mo Camara. We get to see all those guys, Storm Duck, play football. And these are all guys, all young guys, rookies that should play a lot and should show out. It should be a fun Friday night.
Let's go.
And for the fans, shut up on offense. Please. Shut up on offense. Please, man. We start training now. Start training and even in the training camps, bro. Just shut up on offense. And once we start from now. Once you get to when you try to go, you're tired of losing. Every time you remember playing Manning, we tell everybody shut up, everybody shut up. Let's be those guys. Let's be smart fans for once in our lives, please.
And on that note, guys, you guys have a good night. Alf, you also have a good night. Appreciate everyone. Fins for the win. Go Fins. I gotta get used to that Go Fins thing.
I don't like
It's whatever. Appreciate you again. You guys have a good night. Thank you.
Have a good one, man.
All right.